Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Storytime by Santa. I hope you're gathered around. Gather close, my wonderful friends. Find a comfortable spot. Pull your blanket up and get those listening ears ready because tonight we're traveling to the North Pole. Imagine that. I never would have thought that at all. All right, things are looking good. Cool. Awesome. At this time, I have a little warning for you. There will be no singing, quite a bit of singing, actually. Some of it will be beautiful, some of it will be loud, and some of it will come from a reindeer who believes every moment of every day is improved by a Christmas carol. Breakfast, Christmas carol. Cleaning the barn, Christmas carol. Reindeer practice, definitely a Christmas carol. Trying to take a nap, well, that is where we had a slight disagreement. Our story is called The Reindeer Who Loved Christmas Carols. At the North Pole, there lived a young reindeer named Jingleberry. Jingleberry had warm brown fur, bright eyes, and a little white patch in his chest, shaped almost like a musical note. And Jingleberry loved Christmas music. Nope, that does not quite explain it. Jingleberry loved Christmas music. He loved sleigh bells. He loved choirs, trumpets. He loved soft songs. He loved silly songs. He loved songs about snow, friendship, family, kindness, Christmas trees, and everything in between. The moment Jingleberry woke each morning, he sang, "Good morning, snowflakes. Good morning, sun. Christmas is coming. Let's have some fun." His friend Bramble, we've heard that name before, sleeping in the stall next to him, opened up one eye. "Jingleberry, yes, the sun is not up." "I know. Then technically it's not morning." Jingleberry thought. "Would you prefer a nighttime song?" "No." "Are you sure?" "I know several." Bramble pulled his blanket over his head. "Very sure." Jingleberry smiled. He began humming instead. From beneath the blanket came Bramble's voice. "I can still hear humming." "Oh." Jingleberry hummed more quietly. At breakfast, Jingleberry sang while eating oats. At training, he sang while trotting. When the reindeer practiced turns, Jingleberry created a song about turning. Turn to the left, turn to the right, bump. He walked directly into a hay bale. Bramble stared. Jingleberry poked his head out of the hay. "I may have needed another verse." The other reindeer laughed. Even Santa, watching from nearby, chuckled. "Of course I did. Jingleberry, I called. Perhaps we should keep our eyes open during the dramatic parts." "Good idea, Santa." Jingleberry shook hay from his antlers. Then he sang, "Keep your eyes open, watch where you go." Bramble groaned. "We have created another song." Now, Jingleberry wasn't trying to annoy anyone. Let's create this there. Music simply made him happy. When he heard a Christmas carol, he felt warm inside. Songs reminded him of families gathered together. They reminded him of lights glowing in windows. They reminded him of children laughing. Most of all, Christmas songs reminded him that people could feel connected even when they lived far apart. Jingleberry wanted everyone else to feel joy too. But there was one problem. Jingleberry assumed that if he loved something, everyone must want it exactly when he wanted it. One afternoon, Mrs. Claus was carrying a tray of freshly baked cookies. Yummy. Jingleberry followed her. He sang loudly, "Cookies are coming, cookies are here." Mrs. Claus smiled. "That is very sweet, Jingleberry." He sang louder, "Cookies and Christmas." Mrs. Claus raised one finger. Indoor voice. Jingleberry immediately whispered, "Cookies and Christmas." Mrs. Claus laughed so hard she nearly dropped a gingerbread man. Oh no. A few days later, Santa announced the annual North Pole Christmas Carol celebration. Jingleberry's eyes shot straight up. A Christmas Carol celebration? I smiled. Yes, with singing, usual, with music that tends to help, with an audience, yes. Jingleberry gasped, "This is the greatest day of my life." Bramble leaned towards him. You said that when you discovered peppermint apples. This is different. How? It involves singing. Santa explained that elves, reindeer, bakers, toy makers, and families from around the village could participate. We want songs that bring people together, I said. Jingleberry's hoop flew into the air. I'll sing. Santa smiled. I suspect you might. I'll sing 10 songs, perhaps one, 8, 1, 6, 1, 3.5. Bramble whispered, how do you sing half a song? Jingleberry whispered back, very quickly. I laughed. One song, Jingleberry. All right. Jingleberry trotted away happily, then he stopped. He had never sung alone in front of a large crowd. Suddenly, his excitement became something else, nervousness. That evening, Jingleberry stood inside the barn. Bramble sat nearby. Ready? Jingleberry asked. For what? My rehearsal. Bramble's expression changed. How long is it? Only one song. Bramble relaxed. Good. Repeated 14 times. Bramble stood. I suddenly remembered an appointment. With whom? My pillow. Jingleberry laughed. Then he began. His first note was enormous. Joy. A bucket rattled. Bramble's ears flattened, maybe a little softer. Jingleberry tried again. This time his voice cracked. Joy. He stopped. Oh no, but that sounded terrible. It sounded nervous. What if I do that during the celebration? Bramble shrugged. Then you keep going. Jingleberry stared. Keep going? Yes. What if everybody laughs? I won't. Jingleberry became quiet. Bramble smiled. You sing because you love it, remember? Jingleberry nodded. You sing because you love it. Over the next several days, Jingleberry practiced, but instead of becoming more confident, he became more worried. He listened to the elf choir. Their voices blended beautifully. He heard Mrs. Claus sing while baking. Her voice was soft and warm. He listened to a group of young elves practicing harmonies. Jingleberry sighed, they're better than me. Bramble looked at him, better at being themselves? What? You don't sound like them. Exactly. And they don't sound like you. Jingleberry was unconvinced. So he went to see Santa. Santa was in the sleigh barn checking harnesses. Santa, yes, Jingleberry, I have a problem. Santa sat beside him. Jingleberry explained, I love singing when nobody is listening. I nodded. But now that everybody will be listening, I'm afraid. Santa smiled gently. Well, do you know something interesting? What? It's sometimes get nervous too. Jingleberry's eyes widened. You? Of course. But you're Santa. That does not prevent butterflies from entering the stomach. You get butterflies? Occasionally, an entire butterfly convention. Jingleberry laughed. What do you do? I remember why I'm doing something. Santa pointed towards his heart. If your goal is to impress everyone, fear gets very loud. But if your goal is to give them something from your heart, Santa smiled, there's more room for joy. Jingleberry thought carefully. So I shouldn't sing to prove I'm good. Nope. Then why sing? Why did you start singing in the first place? Jingleberry smiled. Because Christmas music makes me happy. There's your answer. The next afternoon, Jingleberry practiced differently. He stopped worrying about perfect notes. He thought about what Christmas music meant to him. Friendship, hope, giving, family, belonging. Then something unexpected happened. He noticed an older reindeer named Maple standing alone near the fence. Maple had once trained young reindeer sleigh teams, but her legs were older now and she no longer joined the faster exercises. Jingleberry walked over. Are you okay? Maple smiled. I'm fine. But Jingleberry noticed her eyes. They seemed a little sad. Do you miss training with everybody? Sometimes. Jingleberry sat next beside her. Usually this was the moment he would start singing, but this time He didn't. He listened. Maple told stories about earlier Christmases. She told him about teaching Dasher to make smooth turns. She told him about this year's Santa's hat blew off over Wisconsin. Jingleberry laughed. What happened? Comet caught it. With his antlers? With his teeth. Jingleberry laughed even harder. After a while, Maple smiled. Thank you for sitting with me. Jingleberry blinked. I didn't do anything. You listened. That evening, Jingleberry realized something. Sharing joy did not always mean singing. Sometimes kindness meant knowing when not to sing. Bramble nearly fainted when he heard this. You learned there are moments when people don't need a song? Yes. Bramble looked towards the ceiling. Thank you. Jingleberry nodded, nudged him. I can still sing now. I knew there was a catch. Finally, the night of the Christmas Carol celebration arrived. The village square glowed with thousands of lights. Lanterns lined the pathways. The enormous Christmas tree shimmered. Families gathered beneath warm blankets. Mrs. Claus served cocoa. The elves passed around cookies. Santa stepped onto the stage. And I said, ho, 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 welcome everybody. The crowd cheered. The performances began. The elf choir sang. A group of children played bells. The bakers performed a funny song about gingerbread cookies escaping from the kitchen. Then came Jingleberry's turn. He walked towards the stage. His legs felt wobbly. His heart pounded. Suddenly, he wanted to run back to the barn. Bramble stood beside the stage. You've got this. I don't think so. You don't have to be perfect. Jingleberry looked towards the audience. Hundreds of faces watched him. Then he saw Maple. She smiled. I stood by and watched. He tapped his heart. Jingleberry remembered, why am I singing? Not to prove anything, not to be the best, to share something he loved. Jingleberry took a breath. He began softly. His first note trembled. The second note was stronger. Then his voice cracked. Just a little. Jingleberry froze. Nobody laughed. Bramble smiled. Maple nodded. Santa gave him the thumbs up. So Jingleberry continued. Soon he stopped thinking about himself. He thought about the meaning of the song. His voice became warm, joyful, real. A few elves began singing with him. Then some reindeer joined. Then Mrs. Claus joined. Children joined. Then soon the entire village was singing. Jingleberry looked around in amazement. He had planned to perform for everybody. Instead, everyone was singing together, and somehow that felt even warmer. When the song ended, the crowd cheered. Jingleberry hurried towards Santa. I did it! I did it! You certainly did. I missed a note. I noticed. Jingleberry stared. Santa laughed, and nobody exploded. Jingleberry laughed too. My voice cracked, yes, and it was still okay. More than okay. Santa knelt beside him. You gave everyone something far more important than a perfect performance. What? A reason to join in. Jingleberry looked around. People were still smiling and humming. He understood music did not have to be perfect to bring people together. Neither did people. From then on, Jingleberry still loved Christmas carols very much, possibly too much. He sang during breakfast. He sang during training. He sang while helping decorate. He also learned to notice the people around him. If someone wanted music, he sang. If someone needed quiet, he gave them quiet. If somebody looked lonely, he sat beside them first. And sometimes after listening, he would ask, would a song help? Usually the answer was yes. Occasionally the answer was after my nap. Jingleberry respected that mostly. Every year he performed at the Christmas Carol celebration. He never became the most famous singer in the North Pole. He didn't care. He became something better. He became the reindeer who could almost everyone singing together. Young elves, old elves, reindeer, bakers, toy makers, visitors, even me, Santa. Mrs. Claus continued describing Santa singing as enthusiastic. I continued considering that as a compliment. And if you visit the North Pole on a quiet December evening, you may hear a joyful reindeer voice drifting across the snow, sometimes perfectly in key, sometimes not quite, but always filled with heart. And perhaps that was what makes a strong song truly beautiful. Not perfect notes, not the loudest voice, but the joy, the kindness, and the love behind it. Because sometimes the best gift you can give is showing everyone how wonderful you are. It is helping everyone around you discover that they have something wonderful to share too. And somewhere in the reindeer barn, Bramble still keeps one special sign beside his bed. It reads, Quiet hours, 9 p.m. till 7 a.m. Jingleberry respects it well most nights. Every once in a while, Bramble hears a tiny whisper from the next stall. La 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 la. Jingleberry, sorry, a few seconds passed then. La la la. Jingleberry, good night, Bramble. Good night. And beneath his blanket, Bramble smiles. Ho, ho, ho. The moral of the story is the reindeer who love Christmas carols remind us that believing in ourselves does not require us to be perfect. Sharing our gifts does not mean we always have to be the center of attention. Jingleberry learned that his love of music became more meaningful when he used it to bring joy to others, while also respecting when someone needed quiet friendship or simply a listening ear. Courage means sharing what your heart even when you feel nervous. Kindness means noticing what others need, and confidence grows when we stop worrying about being better than everyone else. Your gift does not have to be perfect to matter. Sometimes the most beautiful thing you can do is use what you love to help someone else feel smile, feel included, and discover the courage to join in. Wow, that was pretty amazing. I like that one, folks, because we can all join in without being invited, and it's okay. Story number two. Are you ready? Here we go. Come gather close, my wonderful friends. Find yourself a cozy spot, fluff up that pillow, and get your imagination ready because tonight we have a North Pole mystery to solve. Something has disappeared, something important, something round, something shiny, and something that usually sits right in the middle of Santa's coat. Yes, indeed, Santa has lost a button. Now, you might think one missing button isn't much of a problem, but this was no ordinary button, and finding it would lead Santa and his friends down a trail unlike any other they had ever followed before. Not a trail of breadcrumbs, a trail of kindness. So settle in because our story is called Santa's Lost Button and the Kindness Trail. It began on a bright December morning at the North Pole. The sun was just peeking over the snowy hills when Santa stepped into the kitchen. Mrs. Claus was making pancakes. Good morning, I said. Mrs. Claus turned. Then she stared at him. Santa looked behind himself. What? Your coat. Santa looked down. His bright red coat was fastened with 6 large golden buttons, except today there was only 5. Santa counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He counted again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mrs. Claus smiled. Counting it again probably won't make the 6th button appear. Santa rubbed his beard. You never know. He counted a third time. Still 5. Oh, gumdrops. One of Santa's favorite golden buttons was missing. Mrs. Claus placed pancakes on the table. When did you last see it? Santa thought. Yesterday morning. That narrows it down. Excellent. Mrs. Claus raised an eyebrow. You visited almost the entire North Pole yesterday. I stopped smiling. Oh, she was right. Santa had spent the previous day checking toy production, visiting the reindeer barn, helping at the bakery, inspecting the sleigh, reading letters, and delivering supplies. The button could be anywhere. I sat down. Mrs. Claus handed him a pancake. First, breakfast. But my button. Santa, yes, pancakes. Santa looked at the pancakes, then at Mrs. Claus. You make a strong argument. After breakfast, Santa began his search. His first stop was the main workshop. Head elf Holly was organizing toy trains. Good morning, Santa. Ho, 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 Holly. I need your help. Holly immediately stopped. What happened? I've lost something extremely valuable. Holly's eyes widened. The nice list? Nope. The sleigh keys? Nope. Your cookie emergency kit? Santa gasped. I should check that later. Holly laughed. What did you lose? I pointed to his coat. A button. Holly looked at the empty spot. Oh, it's gold, round, and about this big. I made a circle with his fingers, Holly thought. I remember seeing it yesterday morning. Where? You were helping Pip carry wooden trains. I remembered. The young elf named Pip had dropped a box. I had helped gather the trains. Perhaps it fell off there. They searched under tables, behind boxes, inside a basket. Santa even checked beneath a stuffed polar bear. Nothing. But while searching, Holly noticed a little card on the floor. She picked it up. It read, "Thank you for helping me, Santa. Pip." Santa smiled. I remember this. Pip had given him the note after Santa helped with the trains. Holly handed it to him. No button, but we found something nice. Santa tucked the card into his pocket. One clue. Holly smiled. A clue? Santa straightened out his hat. This is officially a mystery. Next, Santa visited the bakery. The moment he entered, warm smells wrapped around him: cinnamon, gingerbread, vanilla, peppermint. Santa breathed deeply. I may need to investigate thoroughly. Baker Benny laughed. You're looking for your button, not cookies. How did you know? Mrs. Claus sent word. I sighed. North Pole news travels faster than Rudolph. Benny pointed towards the cooling racks. You helped us yesterday when the cookie boxes tipped. I remembered. The stack had fallen. Santa spent 20 minutes helping Benny repack them. Did you see my button? Nope. They searched. No button. Then Benny noticed a small paper bag. Oh, this is yours. What is it? Yesterday, after you helped, little Millie decorated a cookie for you. Inside was a star-shaped cookie covered with crooked red icing. Across it, Millie had written, "Thanks, Santa." Well, she had attempted to. It looks more like, "Thanks, Santa." Santa smiled, perfect spelling. Benny laughed, absolutely. Santa carefully placed the cookie into his bag. Another act of kindness, another clue, but still no button. I headed towards the reindeer barn. Rudolph was waiting, I heard. Santa frowned. Everybody knows. Rudolph nodded, even the snow geese. They gossip. Rudolph agreed. Santa checked the barn. Yesterday he had helped Bramble untangle a blanket from a fence. They searched near the fence, nothing. Then Bramble trotted over. Santa! He carried something in his mouth. His eyes widened. My button. Bramble dropped it. It was a carrot. Santa stared. Bramble stared. I thought you might be hungry. I burst out laughing. That may be the nicest incorrect clue I've ever received. Bramble happily ate the carrot himself. Rudolph shook his head. I don't think he understood the assignment. But nearby, Santa noticed something tied to the fence. A small red ribbon attached was the note. Thank you for helping me yesterday. You made me feel better. Bramble. Santa touched the note gently. Another kindness, another stop from yesterday. He suddenly realized something. Holly, Pip, Benny, Bramble. Rudolph looked confused. Are you taking attendance? I shook my head. Everywhere I go for the button, I find someone I helped yesterday. Rudolph smiled. That is interesting. Santa's eyes twinkled. I think you will follow a trail. A button trail? Santa shook his head. A kindness trail. Rudolph joined in the search. Their next stop was the North Pole Post Office. Yesterday, Santa had helped an older elf named Mr. Evergreen carry several heavy mail sacks. They searched around the loading area, no button. Mr. Evergreen handed Santa a little envelope. I was going to give this to you. Instead was a drawing made by his granddaughter. It showed Santa carrying a mail bag. Above him were the letters, "Helpers make heavy things lighter." Santa stared at it for a moment. "That's beautiful." Mr. Evergreen smiled. She asked why Santa was carrying mail. "What did you tell her?" "That even Santa helps when there's work to do." Santa tucked the picture into his coat. Rudolph smiled. The trail continues. Next came the wrapping room. Santa smiled. He stopped there when young elf Lulu became frustrated. She could not make a bow. Every time she tried one side, the other side disappeared. Santa sat beside her. He did not make the bow for her. Instead, he showed her slowly. Loop, around, through, pull. When Santa and Rudolph arrived today, Lulu raced towards them. "Santa, look!" She held up a beautiful green bow. "You did it! I practiced." Santa beamed. "Wonderful." Then Lulu handed him another bow. This one was red, for you. Santa accepted it. "Thank you." Rudolph whispered, "Still no button." Santa nodded, "But I think I'm finding something else." By lunchtime, Santa and Rudolph had visited nearly every place that Santa had been the day before. No golden button, but Santa's pockets were filling up. Pip's thank you card, Millie's cookie, Bramble's note, the drawing from Mr. Evergreen's granddaughter, Lulu's bow, and every stop something else happened. When Holly saw Santa searching, she helped Benny carry flour. Benny later delivered cookies to the mailroom. Mr. Evergreen helped an elf repair a broken wagon wheel. Lulu showed another elf, young elf, how to tie a bow. Bramble carried a basket for Mrs. Claus. One kind action seemed to lead to another, and another, and another. Rudolph noticed it too. "Yes, I think your missing button is causing trouble." Santa looked worried. "What kind?" "The good kind," Santa smiled. Then they reached the village square. A young elf named Oliver sat beside the enormous Christmas tree. Santa remembered him. Yesterday, Oliver had been carrying a handmade wooden bird house. He had built it for his grandfather, but one corner came loose. Santa had helped and stopped and helped hold the pieces while Oliver repaired it. "Hello, Oliver." "Hello, Santa." Oliver hurried over. "Did Grandpa like the birdhouse?" I asked. "He loved it." Oliver smiled. "Then Grandpa helped me make something for someone else." "What?" "A bird feeder for Mrs. Pinewood." Rudolph looked at Santa. There it was again. Kindness continuing forward. Santa explained the missing button. Oliver thought carefully. "I remember seeing something shiny yesterday." Santa's eyes widened. "Where?" "Near Crystal Bridge." Finally, a real clue. Santa and Rudolph hurried towards the bridge. Crystal Bridge crossed a narrow frozen stream near the village. When sunlight touched it, the ice began sparkling like diamonds. Santa searched along the pathway. Rudolph searched beside the rail. Nothing. Then they heard a tiny voice. "Santa?" They turned. A young elf named Mia stood behind with her mother. Mia reached into her pocket. "Are you looking for this?" She opened her hand. There it was, Santa's golden button. "My button. I found it yesterday." Santa knelt. "Why didn't you bring it to me?" "I tried." She looked shy, but then when I saw Mrs. Pinewood drop her groceries, so you stopped to help. Mia nodded. Then I helped my little brother fix the mitten. And after that, Mia needed help carrying packages. Oh, Mom needed help carrying packages. Santa laughed, so my button had quite an adventure. Mia handed it to him. "I'm sorry I didn't return it sooner." Santa shook his head. "No, you have nothing to apologize for. But it belongs to you." "Yes." Santa looked around the village. "But do you know what happened while you were carrying it?" Mia shook her head. "You kept helping people." Santa smiled. And somehow, everywhere I searched for the little button today, I found kindness. Mrs. Claus sewed the button back onto Santa's coat that evening. Santa sat very still. Mostly, Santa, yes, stop moving. I'm trying. You're wiggling. My nose twitches. Mrs. Claus laughed. Finally, the golden button was secure. Santa looked down. Perfect. Mrs. Claus noticed all the notes and little gifts on the table. What are all these? Santa told her about the kindness trail. Mrs. Claus smiled. So you lost one button and found something better. The next morning, Santa gathered everyone at the village square. I have an announcement. The elves gathered, the reindeer gathered. Mrs. Claus came carrying cocoa. Bramble arrived carrying another carrot. I pointed to his repaired button. As many of you know, yesterday I lost this. Benny called out. We all knew. Everybody laughed. Santa continued. But while searching for it, I discovered something important. He told them about the trail, one person helping another, then the person helping someone else. Kindness moving through the village. Santa held up his button. This tiny button reminded me that kindness is rarely just one moment. When you help someone, you may never know what that kindness goes against. Santa looked towards Mia. She helped Mrs. Pinewood. Mrs. Pinewood helped her neighbor. That neighbor helped someone else, and soon Santa spread his arms. Kindness traveled further than any of us planned. From that day forward, the North Pole began a new tradition called the Kindness Trail. Whenever somebody received an act of kindness, they tried to pass along one another. Not because they owed anyone, not because they wanted a reward, but because kindness deserved to keep moving. Children helped younger children. Elves thanked one another. Reindeer shared treats. Neighbors checked on neighbors. And, well, me, that was easy. Santa became more careful with his buttons. Well, mostly. A few weeks later, Mrs. Claus noticed something. Santa, yes, you're missing a button again. Santa looked down. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He smiled. Mrs. Claus crossed her arms. Santa, yes. Did you lose that button on purpose? Santa looked towards the ceiling. I can neither confirm nor deny. Mrs. Claus laughed. You cannot start a kindness trail every time you lose part of your coat. I grinned. Why not? Because eventually you won't have a coat. Santa laughed and he reached into his pocket. The button was there. Mrs. Claus shook her head. I knew it. Santa smiled because by then the North Pole did not need another missing button. The kindness trail was already everywhere. It traveled through the workshop, through the bakery, through the reindeer barn, across Crystal Bridge into homes, into hearts, and perhaps, my wonderful friends, it can even travel even further. Maybe it can travel all the way from the North Pole to you. You simply need one choice word. Hold a door, invite someone to join you, help carry something, listen when someone needs to talk, say thank you, share a smile, then watch what happens, because kindness has a funny way of traveling. Oh, and when you never know how far one little act from you can go, ho, ho, ho. Here's the moral of the story. Santa's little button and the kindness trail reminds us that one small act of kindness can travel much further than we may ever see. Santa began by helping people without expecting anything in return, and those people carried that kindness forward by helping someone else. Being kind does not require something big, expensive, or perfect. It begins by noticing other person and choosing to care. When we take responsibility for how we treat others, have the courage to help, and believe that even our smallest good choices matter. We create a trail that covers others can follow. You never know where your kindness ends up, but every caring word, helping hand, patient moment, and welcoming smile has the power to inspire another, and that is how one small act even eventually brightened an entire community. Wow, that was pretty awesome. Well, folks, here comes our theme of the night. I'm going traveling to Paris. Are you ready? Says we're going to pack some cookies. Of course, we're going to pack cookies. Oh, Santa goes traveling to Paris. It all began one night, one great quiet morning at the North Pole. Santa sat beside the fireplace reading letters, not Christmas wish list letters, travel letters. Every year, children from around the world wrote Santa about places they lived. One letter showed a drawing of mountains, another one showed a beach, the other one had a picture of a city with bright lights and a very tall tower. Santa held it up. Mrs. Claus, yes. Have you ever noticed how often people draw the Eiffel Tower? Mrs. Claus looked over his shoulder. It is rather memorable. Santa studied the picture. I think I should visit Paris. Mrs. Claus smiled. For research? Exactly. What kind of research? Santa thought quickly. Cultural research and pastries. Cultural pastries? Mrs. Claus laughed. I thought so. Santa packed carefully a comfortable red travel shirt, walking shoes, a camera, a notebook, a travel light jacket, a French phrase book, and 12 cookies. Mrs. Claus counted them. 12. International travels requires preparation. Paris has food, Santa. I prefer backup plans. She nodded and handed him one more thing. A small notebook on the front. She had written, look, listen, and learn. Santa smiled. What is this? A reminder of what? When you visit somewhere new, don't you just do what you recognize. Pay attention to what makes the place special. Santa tucked the notebook into his bag. That, he said, sounds like excellent travel advice. A few hours later, Santa arrived in Paris. He did not land a sleigh in the middle of the city. That tends to attract attention. Instead, he arrived quietly on a small hotel near the Seine River. The hotel owner, a cheerful woman named Madame Claire, greeted him. Bonjour, Santa smiled. Bonjour. Then he looked proudly at his phrase book. I practiced. Madame Claire laughed. Welcome to Paris. Santa looked around. The streets were busy. Bicycles rolled past. People sat outside cafes. Fresh bread smelled wonderful. Flowers filled little sidewalk stands. And in the distance, the Eiffel Tower rose above the rooftops. Santa stopped walking. My goodness. Madame Claire smiled. First time? Yes. You should see it at night. Santa looked at the tower again. I think I need a photograph. He handed his camera to Madame Claire. Santa stood beside the river. He smiled. She took the picture. Then Santa checked it. The Eiffel Tower looked wonderful, Santa. Only half his beard fit into the picture. Madame Claire looked embarrassed. Santa burst out laughing. My beard has defeated other cameras. Santa's first stop was a little bakery. A window displayed baguettes, croissants, fruit tarts, and pastries covered with chocolate. Santa stared. The baker stared at Santa. Santa stared at the pastries again. The baker smiled. You seem to be making an important decision. I am. What will you have? Santa pointed. One croissant. The baker nodded. Santa pointed again. And perhaps that chocolate one. Of course. Santa looked towards a fruit tart and that one and one of those. The baker raised an eyebrow. Santa cleared his throat. I am conducting research. The baker laughed. Santa sat outside with his pastries. He took one bite of the croissant. His eyes widened. Mrs. Claus needs to know about this. The boy sitting nearby laughed. His name was Luke. He was 11 years old and lived in Paris with his father. You like croissants? Luke asked. Very much. Have you ever had one? I have. Santa took another bite, but somehow they taste differently here. Luke smiled because remember, you are in Paris. Santa thought about that. Maybe places become part of the food. Eric looked confused. Santa laughed. I'm still working on that idea. Luke noticed Santa's notebook. What are you writing? Santa showed him the cover. Look, listen, and learn. Luke nodded. My teacher says tourists sometimes look at Paris but don't really see it. Santa leaned closer. What do you think they miss? Luke looked thoughtfully. The little things, such as the old doors, the music at the metro, people drawing along the river, the flower shop, the way everyone sits outside when the weather is nice. Santa smiled. You sound like an excellent guide. Luke shrugged. I know some places. Santa had an idea. Would you and your father like to show me the Paris you know? Luke's face lit up. Really? Really? That afternoon, Luke and his father, Jean, met Santa near the river. They began walking along the Seine. Booksellers had given them green lights along green stands along the water. Some sold old books, others sold postcards and prints. Santa stopped at one. A drawing showed the Eiffel Tower beneath a starry sky. Santa bought it. Luke pointed to the river. Look, a boat passed beneath a bridge. People waved. Santa waved back. One person shouted, Santa! Santa laughed. My disguise is failing. Jean looked at Santa's red shirt and enormous white beard. What disguise? Excellent point. They crossed the Point Alexandra III bridge, I'm assuming. With its beautiful lamps and golden statues, Santa stopped midway. This bridge is fancy enough to wear to dinner. Luke laughed. Jean explained how Paris had many bridges connecting neighbors across the river. Santa wrote in his notebook, bridges connect more than places. Luke looked at the words. What does that mean? Santa pointed towards people crossing in both directions. A bridge helps someone reach the other side. Luke nodded. And kindness can do the same thing. Luke thought about that. Like talking to someone who feels left out. Exactly. Their next stop was a large garden. Children pushed little sailboats across the pond. Families sat beneath trees. People read books on green chairs. Santa watched a little girl trying to launch a toy boat. Every time she'd push it, the boat turned around and came back. She frowned. Santa approached carefully. May I? The girl nodded. Santa adjusted the sail. Now, try this one. She she paused. The little boat engine roared, caught the breeze, and sailed across the pond. The girl cheered. Santa bowed dramatically. Luke laughed. You fixed it. Santa shook his head. She did the sailing. I just helped the sail catch the wind. Oh, Luke smiled. That sounds like something you would write in the notebook. Santa did. Sometimes people don't need to do everything for them. They just need enough to help to catch the wind. Later, they visited a small art square. Painters worked beneath umbrellas. One artist drew portraits. Another painted bridges. A young girl named Amelia sat beside with a sketchbook. Santa noticed that she kept erasing the same drawing. Why? What are you making? The tower. Santa looked. Her drawing of the Eiffel Tower leaned slightly to one side. I don't like it. Why? It doesn't look perfect. Santa sat beside her. May I show you my first drawing of a reindeer? Amelia nodded. Santa opened his notebook. He drew quickly. 4 legs, 2 antlers, a round body. An animal looked like a potato wearing tree branches. Amelia stared. What is that? Rudolph. Luke laughed so hard he nearly sat on the pavement. Santa grinned. Rudolph was also confused. Amelia laughed. Santa pointed towards her drawing. Your tower does not have to be perfect to be yours. She looked at it again. What if I make mistakes? Then your hand is learning. Amelia slowly began drawing again. This time she did not erase every line. Before Santa left, she handed him the picture. For you, Santa smiled. I will treasure it. That evening, Santa finally visited the Eiffel Tower. As the sun set, Paris changed, slowly changed. Windows began glowing. Streetlights came on. They slowly turned, the sky slowly turned pink, then purple, then deep blue. Santa stood near the tower. Luke waited beside him. Then suddenly, thousands of lights sparkled across the Eiffel Tower. Santa's mouth fell open. True? He forgot the rest. Ho, ho, ho. Luke laughed. You forgot to say ho, ho, ho 3 times? Santa shook his head. I was not prepared. The tower shimmered against the night sky. People around them smiled. Some took pictures. Some simply watched. Santa closed his camera. Luke noticed, you don't want a picture? I do, but I think I'll watch first. Mrs. Claus' words returned. Look, listen, and learn. Santa looked. He listened to the city around him. He listened to the laughter. Different in many languages, footsteps, music, the river, and he learned something. Sometimes the best memory is not the photograph, it's the moment when we stop trying to save an experience and actually experience it. The next morning, Santa and Luke visited a neighborhood market. Santa heard French everywhere. He only understood part of it. At one stand, he tried ordering an apple. He looked at his favorite book, then spoke carefully. The shopkeeper smiled. Santa waited, then handed him a pineapple. Luke covered his mouth. Santa stared at it. I appeared to have made progress in the fruit family. Luke burst out laughing. The shopkeeper laughed too. She corrected Santa to pronounce the words correctly. Santa tried again. This time he received an apple. Merci, the shopkeeper applauded. Santa took a bow. Santa learning one apple at a turn. Later that day, Santa noticed Luke had become quiet. What are you thinking about? Luke leaned towards the river. I like showing you Paris. I've enjoyed it. Sometimes I think my city is ordinary because I see it every day. Santa nodded that perhaps you came here and acted excited about everything. I was. Luke smiled. Is perhaps made me notice things again. Santa looked at him. Then perhaps you have taught me Paris, and I have helped you see home differently. Luke nodded. Santa wrote another note. Wonder does not always require going somewhere new. Sometimes it requires looking at something familiar with new eyes. On Santa's final evening, Madame Claire arranged a small dinner. Luke and Jean came. The baker came. Amelia and her family came. Even the shopkeeper from the market came. There was bread, soup, cheese, pastries, and chocolate dessert that caused Santa to become very quiet. Mrs. Claus would later describe that silence as deep concentration. Everyone shared stories. Amelia showed her newest drawing. The Eiffel Tower was still slightly crooked, but this time she had signed her name proudly. Santa appeared. Luke handed Santa a small box. Inside was a keychain shaped like the Eiffel Tower. For your travel bag, Santa smiled. Thank you. Then Santa gave Luke something. His small look, listen, learn notebook. Luke stared. Your notebook? I filled most of it, but it belongs to you. Santa shook his head. Now it belongs to the next explorer. Luke opened it. On the final page, Santa had written, the greatest part of traveling is not counting how many places you visit. It is allowing one place with each person to teach you something. Luke smiled. I'll keep writing. I hope you will. When Santa returned to the North Pole, Mrs. Claus met him. Well, Santa dropped his suitcase. Paris was wonderful. How many pastries? Santa looked innocent. How many? Cultural research is confidential. Mrs. Claus learned. What did you learn? Santa thought carefully. I learned that a city is more than famous buildings. He showed her Amelia's drawing. It is the people. He showed her the Eiffel Tower keychain. And sometimes travel helps us appreciate where we come from too. Mrs. Claus smiled. Sounds like the notebook worked. Santa nodded. Very well. Then he opened up his suitcase. Inside sat the pineapple. Mrs. Claus stared. Why did you bring home a pineapple from Paris? Santa smiled. That is a longer story. Years later, Santa visited Paris again. Luke was older. He had filled the notebook. Then another, then another. He had traveled to new places, but he also explored neighborhoods near his own town. Eventually, he became a teacher. One of his favorite classroom projects was called Look, Listen, and Learn. His students visited local parks, museums, markets, and neighborhoods. They wrote about what they noticed. They spoke with people. They asked respectful questions, and they learned that the world becomes far more interesting when we stop assuming we already know everything about it. Luke kept Santa's original notebook on his desk. Whenever a student asked, there's nothing interesting there. Luke smiled, then he would say, look again. And every once in a while, a postcard arrived from the North Pole. On the front was Santa, sometimes in London, sometimes Yellowstone, sometimes near a sunny beach, and on the back were always three words: look, listen, and learn. Beneath them, a word is full of stories. Santa never forgot Paris, not because of one tower, not because of pastries, although the pastries certainly helped. He remembered Paris because yep,
Warning, the brown cloud is approaching. Some will try to outrun it. Others may not be so lucky, but don't worry.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
Warning, the brown cloud is approaching. Some will try to outrun it. Others may not be so lucky. But don't worry, it's all part of the fun at the Chili Cook-Off for books and board games. Where the chili is hot, the flavors are bold. And Bear E has your back with the official Brown Cloud Preparedness Kit. Follow the plan, know your exits, and whatever you do, hold your breath, because this temporary pain is all for a great cause. Join us, laugh with us, survive the brown cloud, together at Key Largo Lounge in Greeley.
Join us November 8th at 11 a.m. for the 10th annual Chili Cook-Off for books and board games at our home field, Key Largo Lounge, where our small market team is making a huge statement. Scan the code for tickets and sponsorship information.